Hello and welcome to the Arena Sports Show. My name is Clauiee Grace Mpanza. And well, we have another exciting episode for you today, but we do have a big change in my lineup. I bring Mahlatse Mphahlele, who's been in the grandstand for a couple of weeks. He gets into a start, of course, after impressive runs that he's made. He's been looking really good in training, but he's got a battle as I've brought in a strong midfielder who does absolutely well. She plays for Mamelodi Sundowns and Banyana. It's Kholosa Biyana. The Fox joins us today. And of course, as before we find out what more they have to say and how they're doing, we do know that we've woken up to unfortunate news in South Africa where unfortunately Fleurs has passed away. He was murdered at a hijacking, and of course to pay their tributes, it's Mamelodi Sundowns coach Rulani Mokwena and Kholosa Biyana, as we do know that they are preparing for the CAF Champions League. So let's find out what more they've had to say.
I think it's only befitting that we start with words of condolences to Fleurs' family and the bereaved, of course, the family of Kaizer Chiefs, the family of SuperSport United as the ones that really invested a lot in his development as a footballer. It's very sad that a young life can come to such an abrupt end with so much potential. And I think it's a major loss for the South African football fraternity. And so we, as Mamelodi Sundowns, on behalf of the players, the technical team, our supporters, we'd like to extend our heartfelt condolences and well wishes to the family and everybody.
Condolences to the Luke family. I mean, it's very bad for a young player like Luke to just pass on like this. It's very painful for us, but yeah, I just think everyone will be fine, and I just think God will give the strength to the Kaizer Chiefs family and everyone and the whole family as the whole.
Well, a big thank you, of course, to Rulani Mokwena and Kholosa Biyana. We've seen more tribulations and condolences coming, of course, from many more sporting lovers and football clubs. But Mahlatse Mphahlele, when you look into what has happened, it's quite interesting. 2 weeks back, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine and I asked him, what's his biggest fear? He's also a professional footballer. And he said, being murdered. And I found that quite interesting that at that professional level, yes, you're successful. People think you've got it all, but you still fear for your life. Talk to us about, this untimely death for Fleurs, but also what footballers have to go through.
Yeah, I think it's a sad thing for a highly promising young player like that to die like that. In many ways, also it sort of exposes the deep social problems that we have in the country. Mm-hmm. We live in a country where crime is bad, and something really needs to happen. That the government can somehow find a way how to obviously realistically you can't stop crime completely, but if we can reduce it, I mean, can you imagine just ordinary people like me who get killed like that every day? Obviously, because Fleurs was a professional footballer. When it happens, it gets, it becomes a big thing. It's all over the place, and it's very, very sad. And we can only, hope that this family can have strength during this difficult time. Yeah. He had just moved to Chiefs now, and where he was trying to launch his career. When I found out the news last night, I just couldn't believe it. I was coming from the Pirates match, and somebody called me to say, have you seen what's happening on social media? I said, no, I haven't seen anything. Yeah. And I knew that Kaitano is somebody who was very close to Coach Kaitano. He's the one who brought him to SuperSport, with Jesse Dawn from an NFD team in Cape Town, Ubuntu FC. And he was also equally shattered. And he actually said to me, when he saw him as an 18-year-old kid, he struck him as somebody who had the qualities of becoming possibly one of the best defenders in the country. Yeah. Now he's no more, and we can only send condolences to the family and hopefully they find strength during this difficult time.
And we can only also hope that justice will be done for Luke Fleurs, as of course this is quite unfortunate, and hopefully this won't be a continuing trend, because we've seen it as well, not only in football but also other public spaces, be it musicians. So something has to be done to put this to an end, but we keep things moving here on the Arena Sports Show, where you do know that we've got normal features where we've got our top stories, we've got our stars of the week. So on that note, let's quickly find out what's of course making the headlines in your top stories. Tributes continue to pour in for Kaizer Chiefs defender Luke Fleurs, who died after being shot in a hijacking incident on Wednesday. The 24-year-old joined Chiefs as a free agent in October, having been released by previous club SuperSport United in September, and the centre-back was yet to earn an official game for Amakhosi. Still staying with football, when images of 7 Mamelodi Sundowns players travelling in a private jet emerged last week, the immediate reaction from some supporters was to label them spoiled footballers living on the softer side of life. There may have been an element of showness by the players on their luxury travel, but a closer look reveals meticulous planning by Sundowns, who are competing against some of the best on the continent. Kaizer Chiefs caretaker coach Gavin Johnson has insisted that his players are still fully behind him amid the team's awful form of late that has seen them 7th spot on the DStv Premiership standings. Kaizer Chiefs put in another unconvincing display when they lost 1-0 to high-flying Stellenbosch in the league at the FNB Stadium on Tuesday, where Devin Titus scored the match's only goal that also extended the Cape Winelands side unbeaten streak to an impressive 19 games across all official competitions. Sports Minister Zizi Kodwa is very worried about the developments at the crisis-riddled South African Football Association, and he is planning to meet the leadership of the organisation. Last month, SAFA's headquarters in Nasrec, Johannesburg, were raided by the Serious Commercial Crime Investigation Unit, Hawks, in connection with allegations of fraud and theft amounting to 1.3 million rand that is linked to President Denny Jordan. Lastly, moving over to Formula 1, McLaren have unveiled a bespoke livery that will adorn Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri's cars across the entire Japanese Grand Prix this weekend. Designed by Japanese artist Molds, the livery highlights the Driven by Change campaign, which returns for its 4th Formula 1 season. The campaign celebrates emerging creatives through the global motorsport platform, providing opportunities to showcase their innovative artwork to the world. And well, one of the big talking points has to be Mamelodi Sundowns. We do know that, of course, they are in action this weekend. But the big story, Kholosa, starting with you here, is, of course, getting the Mamelodi Sundowns. A lot of fans saying that, no, man, these players are living too soft of a life. But it shows the intentions, I think, when you look at it, in terms of Mamelodi Sundowns and wanting to ensure that all logistics are covered for Sundowns.
No, it's beautiful to see that Sundowns takes good care of their players. We think they're living a nice life, but that's what happens in Europe. That's how their players travel, and that's why they get results. So it's a beautiful thing to see. Imagine if they had traveled by flight, how long it would take them to get to their game. And I think they did well.
They definitely did. And Mahlatse, to bring you in on that, I mean, you also wrote an article on it just to clarify in terms of the logistics and how the 7 players actually got there before the team arrived in Tanzania.
Yeah, I mean, as Kholosa say, Sundowns are operating at the level which not many teams on the continent do. And if you are there, you have to behave and act the part. The sheer logistics of those 7 players with Bafana getting to Tanzania, if they were to fly a normal, it was just going to be almost impossible for them to get to Tanzania in time and be able to play. They took that decision, which also shows experience and planning. They would never have been able to do it if there was no planning and there was no experience of traveling on the continent. What could have happened was that they were going to leave Algiers and go to Dubai and come to Johannesburg and leave Johannesburg and go to Tanzania. By the time they get to Tanzania, it will be a day before the match. Where is the recovery? Where is the rest? Where is all these other things that professional players these days need to do to be able to perform at an acceptable level? So it shows that they are serious about this thing. They're playing in the Champions League. They're in the quarterfinals. And if you want to win the Champions League, that's what you have to do. In Europe, you can see all the time on social media.
Yeah.
When players are coming back from the national teams, they're always flying business class. I mean, not so long ago, before AFCON with Onana,
Yes.
he stayed as long as he could in England before he can go to Ivory Coast to join with the team. And how did he travel? He traveled with a private jet, Obviously in Europe, because the teams are at the bigger stage, they've got more money. When the players leave, they leave by private jet and they come back by private jet because the clubs want them as soon as possible back at those clubs. So it shows their intent, it shows the seriousness of this thing. And it's no surprise that they've been able to achieve what they've achieved so far on the continent.
And then we move over to my favorite feature on the show, Star of the Week, where we get to choose, be it athletes, organizations that have impressed us in the last couple of days. And today I'll get, of course, a jab at it first. I'll start with my Star of the Week, Kholosa and Mahlatse. For me, it has to be Lewis Hamilton. The reason why I say Lewis Hamilton is because you look into, I don't know if you guys have seen the recent article with GQ Sport, where he was going on, of course, and expressing his plans for the next 5 years. And also for the very first time has spoken about what happened in Abu Dhabi in 2021, saying that yes, he was wrong, but then what he was actually thinking, and saying that he wants to remember that there's a mini him that's watching him and wants to inspire the young kid. And I thought that's absolutely pure class. And we do know, of course, that there is that move that's going to Ferrari next year. So he's just paving the way. And really, I think Lewis and the mind frame that is in, I think for me, that's absolutely pure class at his age. Yes, we don't discuss age, but I think it's quite impressive to see how he's also changing the narrative. Kholosa, who's your Star of the Week?
My Star of the Week is Kholosa Biyana. She plays cricket for the Protea women's team. They've been in tour for the past week. So the reason why she's my Star of the Week, in the past tour, she was left out. Big tour in Australia. She was left out, it was said, and then she came in now. She's been doing well, got 4 wickets in the first series, and now she got another one yesterday, so she's been great, so I'm so proud of her.
I love how you follow your cricket. Like, I get all my updates from Kholosa. I'm like, I know she will literally give me the lowdown of what's been happening. What about you, Mahlatse Mphahlele?
I'm going to go with Rulani.
Oh.
I think...
I didn't see that coming.
I was at Loftus on Tuesday, and they came back from Tanzania to play against Richards Bay. He changed the entire team, 11 players, he changed the entire team.
Sure.
What struck me was that the players who were on the bench against Richards Bay were not even in the match day squad in Tanzania. I think 6 players who were in the starting lineup against Richards Bay were on the bench in Tanzania. I'm just in awe at the way he sort of, in the midst of all this heavy schedule, he somehow finds to get the best out of the players. The way he relies on science to get the players, interested, to get the players rejuvenated. And at the same time, they continue to strive to play football the right way.
Yeah.
I know there's been some instances here and there in the big matches, especially in the AFL, where to be able to win that tournament, they sort of had to move away from their staff of playing, and really play tournament football to win. I like the fact that he's been able to manage this Sundowns team. There are a lot of egos in there, a lot of big players in there. But if you, firstly, we are lucky enough to be able to be around the guys, and you can see that the spirit is good. They are happy faces. Is a camp that does not have too many people who are problems in there, and everything comes back to him. If the team wins, he's the head coach and he must take the credit, as much as if they start not doing well. The blame will be on him, and the way they are doing now, they are doing very, very well, and I think he will get the nod for my Star of the Week.
All right, I don't hate it at all, but I want to find out from you, Kholosa, on that note, right? Because a lot of times we don't look into what coaches bring and what they do for players. And we always have this conversation in terms of, having a good coach that will improve you is essential. Talk to us about what makes, in your opinion, a good coach that has that capability to make sure that, yes, Kholosa, you've got the talent and I see you, but there's a vision that I have for you to make you a better player.
I think for me, more than anything, I think Coach Rulani is a dad, he's a teacher, he understands his players, he has relationships with individual players. So I think he's a smart coach and he knows how to work his things around. In football, as a player, if I don't get game time, I'll be mad. And sometimes we tend to influence the dressing room.
Yeah.
But he knows how to manipulate the situations. He knows when and how to give players game time. And it's beautiful to see how he manages all the players and take into account fatigue and things like that. So I think he's a great coach. More than a coach, I think he's a father figure to all of them.
No, he definitely is. On that note, we then move over. We do know that the Blue Bulls are in action this week and Loftus for the Champions Cup. Let's find out what Coach Jake White has to say in terms of preparation ahead of this clash.
I don't want the headline to be Jake says we still, we just need time. We need time. You can't fast track. When Furlong comes on and we put on Mornay Smith and they bring on Sheehan, and then they bring on Gibson Park and we bring on Zach Berger and they bring on Kalen Doris and we bring in Gamedi. And we're talking about guys that have got more test caps there than URC games we've got. So it's not a case of men against boys. It's just being realistic. I'll tell you what it did remind me of. It reminded me of playing a really good oiled Super Rugby team like the Crusaders. That's what it reminded me of. I want to take the Bulls to that. I want to be able to run out of the change room and have a seasoned team of guys that have played over 100 times for their province. And that's why I suppose I keep banging that drum to you guys as journalists, that we can't have a situation where we coach guys to pay their school fees and then end up going to play at big clubs and other big clubs. We all talk about, I read a lot of clubs saying we want to be leaders and we want to be a good club. You only get that by keeping your team together for many, many years. Now you look at the Springbok team. The Springbok team now has been together for 8 years. I mean, that's a recipe for success. It's not a hidden secret. So if I look at the team and I'm not taking anything away from the group I have, because you can only control what you have. But if we had Ergia and Jason and Loer de Jager and Jesse Kriel and Andre Pollard and Ivan van Zyl and Liebenberg on the flank and Trevor Nyankani at prop for this weekend, in other words, the last game that passed, I can tell you now the score wouldn't have been the same. And that's just because they're seasoned, they're a bit older, they're a bit wiser, they've got experience. And to be fair, I mean, I've been around long enough to know that's what it was like in the old days. Those guys would have been playing for their provincial sides in South Africa. So, I can only control what I can control, and what I can control is I need this group to grow in the next couple of years. And the one way we're going to have to do is to put in pressure situations like that and see whether we sink or swim.
Well, great to see, of course, that Coach White is enthusiasm. Mahlatse Mphahlele, when you look into this encounter against Lyon, you look at the fact that Lyon have backs who run very well with the ball. How do you see the Bulls, having to win? Because after that terrible defeat that they encountered, they need this win back. Talk to us about the mentality and, of course, playing a side like Lyon.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because our rugby teams now are playing. It's very weird how they do it in rugby. You are playing two tournaments at the same time. Last week it was the United Rugby Championships, where they were in Ireland. They lost to Leinster.
Yeah.
Leinster, which is one of the best club rugby sides in the world. Lots of Ireland internationals who just won the Six Nations now. It was not much of a surprise that they've lost there. Most teams go there and they don't come back with a win. But they're back home now. And attention is on the Champions Cup. The Champions Cup is more like the Champions League of rugby. The top rugby sides are playing in there. They're against Lyon now. One of the big sides from France. It's just going to be one of those matches where I think they will have to use the advantage of being at home. Most teams always struggle to play against the Bulls at Loftus. And they've strategically put the match at 1 o'clock. Hopefully the sun will be out, it will be hot.
I don't know, because it looks like it's raining this weekend, hey?
Maybe it may come back to haunt them,
Yeah.
Because I see today at Loftus that when you walk into the pitch, they have a big sign there, like similar to what they have at Liverpool, at Anfield.
Yeah.
It shows you the reading of the altitude that you are in serious trouble. It's something which works for them when they play at home. Most of the European teams struggle when they come here. But now they've learned to acclimatize, because also what works for the visiting teams now is that most of those players are international players. They come to South Africa quite a lot. Sometimes you find that they are able to play in South Africa at high altitude, and they don't feel the effects of that kind of thing. So it's going to be important. I think they are in the reckoning to go as far as they can in the tournament. And if they win this match, it will really do them a lot of good.
Yeah.
The other thing that the coach has spoken about is that in South African rugby, the problem is just because of the sheer strength of the pound and the dollar and all those kinds of things. Our teams suffer a lot because most of our young talent tends to leave and go to play in Japan and in England and France and other top countries in Europe. We are not able to hold on to our players here. That's why you find that a French team can come back here with 2 or 3 South African players who play for the Springboks.
Yeah.
And they beat us here. So he also raised the issue that maybe SA Rugby must find a way as to how the Springbok players must stay in South Africa, so that when we play in the URC and the Champions Cup, we're able to feel as strong as possible teams when we play against those teams from Europe. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the match. Should be a nice one at Loftus on Saturday.
Loftus is very busy this weekend. They start off, of course, with Mamelodi Sundowns. Then it's the Bulls. But interesting enough, I heard from tight head prop in Wilkaloo saying that he's expecting a very tight Bruce encounter, because this is, of course, 2-side, especially when you look into Lyon's side, who are very good with set pieces. So it's going to be interesting how the Bulls will handle this one. And then we move over. We do know that the past week has been busy. Tournaments galore, okay? We've had the Under-21 Pirates Cup. We also had the Under-17 Vision View Easter Cup champions. Let's quickly find out how the Under-17 Cup went, as, of course, we find out some of the highlights as Kaizer Chiefs were crowned champions.
It's down to the goalkeepers, and this is the stage that the goalkeepers tend to, of course, love. They are the ones that become the heroes. That's a poor penalty from the under-15 international player. Power behind the ball, precision, decisiveness.
Brilliant one. What a cheap goal.
He's a phenomenal player, exceptional, and that's why we included him in the best 11.
Tato! Oh! Kasiamose! Kaizer Chiefs! 2024 Vision View TV bafetoga gape go tswella pele go nna bafenyi 2024 Kasiamose amakosi enna bona ditimega ebile ba sireletsi go Vision View TV.
Defending champions Amakosi, an immaculate performance from them. They wanted it more, Tabo. They showed the resilience, the determination.
Well, it's great to see, of course, that the young talent is being spotted and, of course, being given the right support in South Africa. Mahlatse Mphahlele, you were at the Vision View Cup. Talk to us about what you saw from those youngsters. I mean, you look at the Kaizer Chiefs side, it's looking like a very well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I wanted something different. So I went out to Pinnacle College over the weekend. And yeah, I think it was a nice day out. Seeing the kids. What struck me there was that they played 20 minutes and a half. so it's quick finish, we back home. But yeah, I think I was impressed with SuperSport. I was impressed with the team that went to the final. Can't just, the name escapes me now. The Chiefs was also there. They won the trophy. They've got some nice players, and also what I liked was that Chiefs is coached by a certain Sidiso Lesolonyane, who happens to be Yeya's brother.
Who's been coaching longer than Yeya. I was listening to his interview. I was like, I've got more experience in the coaching department.
Yeah, he says the good thing is that it's the only thing that is better than Yeya had. So, I mean, I think it was nice. Because when Chiefs kids win something, it always draws a lot of attention from people to say, hey, we hope that you can translate to the big ones. But yeah, it was nice to see them do something. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Football at that level is fun because though there is always that element of them having to win,
sure.
But at the same time they're having fun and young players, and hopefully maybe one or two of them will see them in the future.
We can only hope. Kholosa, I know that you also showed face at the Pirates Cup. Talk to us about the ladies. We know UJ were crowned champions, and I mean, you've played in the varsity setup. Talk to us how important that is and being recognized at such a young age for the girls as well.
Yeah, it was a great tournament and I enjoyed it. I actually came on the last day, which was interesting. The guys' side, UJ won, but then the ladies' side, JVW won.
Oh, yes.
And I was quite impressed because they were playing with a very, very young team. That team knocked out TS Galaxy. It knocked out Mamelodi Sundowns. We'd had a few of senior players. And I was quite impressed with some of the players there. It was beautiful to watch. Tana Hollis, I think she's an upcoming beautiful superstar. She's been doing well.
Yeah.
The Hollywood Bets and Kat in the Mamelodi Sundowns side. But other than that, it's beautiful to see that tournaments like this also include women's teams.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's beautiful for development, and that is where we lack as South Africans.
I bumped into Coach Jerry Chabalala actually at Marks Park. I think it was on the Friday or the Saturday. I'm not too sure which day it was. And he was so sure that Sundowns was going to it. He was like, listen, some Nandi here. Every Sundowns team here is top class. But I was impressed, with the maturity from the Sundowns ladies at that age. So clearly you guys are cooking something at Mamelodi Sundowns.
No, definitely. I wouldn't be shocked if I heard him say that.
Yeah.
It's a Mamelodi Sundowns mentality from the men's team to the women's team. It's about winning. We want to enjoy ourselves. We want to win trophies. So that's why he had that mentality. And it's just said that they lost.
Said for you, nah?
It is sad, but it was an overall beautiful tournament to watch.
It definitely was. We move over on that note. We are really staying with Mamelodi Sundowns lately. They are, of course, in the CAF Champions League. Mahlatse Mphahlele was at that press conference. Let's find out what Coach Rulani Mokoena has to say after they were so kind to their visitors, after their bus broke down during the week upon arrival. So let's find out what Rulani Mokoena has to say.
Players understand where the game is. And you watch all these games now. Even yesterday, I watched Pirates Swallows. One is trying to make a game out of it. The other one is sitting off. Aston Villa, Manchester City, same sort of pictures. Our game against Richards Bay, same sort of pictures. But fortunately, I think Younger have moments where they look to try to play from the back. They've got some very good defenders in Dixon and in Job, and they look to play a little bit from the back, Ibrahim. And then, of course, if Awucho plays, that he links up the play in the midfield very, very well. And then, of course, up front, they've got some very, very good players with speed, like Musonda, who they put coming from the left as an inverted striker, close to Msize. And then Aziz Ki as a 10, and then the possibilities of Mutadiri, the 27, in the 8, and with Maxi, who played a little bit more of a different role against us in the first leg, to buffer a little bit the right channel. But of course, let's see how it goes tomorrow. We've done our analysis. The players understand the details. And these are the type of games that are won on details, small details. Shift or push the game either towards you or away from you, So we've got to be ready for that. And then, as you say, this is probably the biggest lesson of CAF Champions League games, is that you can't get too comfortable being comfortable, because the moment you're comfortable, you are more vulnerable, actually. And so we've got to be very careful while we are in possession, and we've got to be very careful when we feel comfortable and try to understand the context of the game completely. But we've been in this situation before, and hopefully that's the experience we can use. We've been in this situation where we've had a first leg 0-0, and we understand what happens. You just think about the semi-final last season against Wydad. We went away into Morocco, where to come here and get a result, and unfortunately it was 2-2. And that experience helped us in the MTN8 when we played Chiefs. It helped us even in the AFL final when we lost to Wydad, the very same Wydad in the first leg of the final 2-1, and we didn't have any advantage. except an away goal. But of course, the 0-0 draw is not like a 2-1 defeat. And so in that moment, we have to dig into that little bit of experience and try to understand the context of the game and what every goal, both for us and for them, means for the account.
Well, great, of course, Mahlatse Mphahlele, to see, of course, Coach Rulani Mokoena feeling optimistic ahead of the encounter with Yanga. Talk to us quickly, your expectations with this one, because we go into this one as a stalemate.
Yeah, listening to him speak at this press conference, he emphasized the importance of Sundowns fans rocking up at that stadium. I think Sundowns fans must try and fill that stadium tomorrow to create a very, very intimidating atmosphere. The 12 men will do them a lot of good. Experience has showed us that in the Champions League, these so-called small teams can really give you problems. This team is coming up. Yanga, they're very serious. The board, the owners of the team wants to transform this team into one of the best teams in the continent. And this is part of their journey. And for Sundowns, I think there will be serious repercussions if they are knocked out. If you look at the manner in which Sundowns have signed players, they've spent a lot of money on the transfer market to boost this team, and not really to win the league domestically, but to compete properly in the Champions League. And I think the chance is there for Sundowns to win this trophy this year. Without it's not there. The big teams are not there. It's only really, if you look at the history, it's only Al Ahly, which is the big team that is left in the tournament. If they find Al Ahly in the final, they've beaten Al Ahly before. So you'd feel that the chance is there. But the pressure is on Sundowns now. They will really have to pitch up. They have to beat this team. They've done so. The one Coach Peter used to say, their goals in Pretoria.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
But it's not going to be easy at all. The good thing for Sundowns is that Mshishi is back. When Mshishi does his things,
when Mshishi dances, the whole team is dancing.
So it should be a good game. But the most important thing is that fans must come to the stadium. If you look at Loftus, that area of Sunnyside, there are a lot of foreigners in that area who will definitely come to the stadium and support Yanga. So it's up to the locals to rock up and support this team.
How do you see Mamelodi Sundowns panning out in this one? I mean, yes, we saw during the week Coach Rulani Mokoena resting most of his players, to give the others a chance, and also the majority of the squad to rest so that they're refreshed come Friday. So talk to us about that from your perspective and how they should approach the game.
I think one thing about Sundowns, they don't change how they play. They don't change the mentality. The mentality is to win, win, win. Yeah. And it's good that the players have rested. They had the week to rest, well recovered. I think it's going to be a nice, high-intense game. But I believe Sundowns are going to go through. They have to go through, and I wish them all the best.
She wishes them all the best. What do you mean obvious? You also, the whole country is wishing Mamelodi Sundowns.
I'm saying obvious because he's a Sundowns player. So.
All right, on that note, we switch it up now to the good part, where we get, of course, to listen, you've held it down nicely as our co-host. Now we get to welcome Kholosa as our guest, as we get to know her, which I'm absolutely excited.
Because Clauiee, a small injury makes him out for long. So people are suspecting that maybe the age is a problem there.
No, listen, I think Caesar's been lying about his age, eh? But Kholosa, my goodness, I'd like to start with you because it's the qualifications that you have, right? We're talking about also the small qualifications that you have. You've got 3 in terms of course, the big ones. You've got your radiologist, your sports science, and you also have, your biokinetics. And you also mentioned your sports analysis that you also do on the side. So she's well learned. Talk about balance in terms of course, education and football. Why did you choose that balance? Because I find that quite interesting. Some just choose football and it's done.
When you are from the Eastern Cape, Northwest, Limpopo, you definitely want to push your studies first because the sports there is not like in Joburg, Durban. We don't get exposed to sport at a younger age. So my parents pushed me to always go to school. So I just had to make sure I make them happy. But I didn't know that I was enjoying the balance between the two. I had to push, continue with my studies. And the only way I knew I was going to be successful in football or get to Banyana was through University Sports South Africa. And to do that, you must be in university, you must play Varsity Cup, and that's where I got the exposure, and I'm glad. But at the same time, it's important to balance your studies with football because you don't know where you're going to end up. Things happen post-football. I don't want to be home, sitting there, bored.
For sure.
I want to have something to fall back on.
Talk to us about Tina Mbuli and the role that she's played in your life, because I know she's been quite significant.
I love her so much.
Yeah.
She's been, I think, around me for the longest time, especially from the time I went to university, DUT. She's pushed me. She's helped me develop as a player because I didn't go to any football academy. So she's been there for me. And I appreciate her a lot. And yeah, I wish her all the best. It was just said I had to leave UWC at the time, but it was just something I had to do and a step I had to take. But yeah, I thank her so much and I love her so much.
Oh, man, I absolutely love that. Mahlatse, it's not all the time where we get to, you know, speak to someone in her magnitude, you know, that takes education seriously. And of course, already preparing, you know, I was listening to Lewis Hamilton and he was telling us how he's only thinking about life after Formula One now. He didn't have an idea of what was going to happen. But here's Kholosa at a young age already, you know, figuring her way out as to what's next after football.
Yeah, firstly, I must say that the qualifications are shaming me.
What qualifications do you have, my friend?
Yeah, we did media studies, you know. So yeah, but I guess it's good. It's an inspiration, and you know I guess what I like is that you know in society we need good role models, and I mean she's one of the good role models. Young people need good people to look up to, whether you know sports and education, and also we can never really overemphasize the importance of education.
For sure.
She's a sportswoman. You know, we all know that in sports anything can happen. Something can happen. She can continue playing tomorrow. With the value of the qualifications she has, she can walk into an office tomorrow and find a job.
Yeah.
We have seen so many sad stories of, especially men, ex-footballers, who we see today. They've got nothing, and they played football at the highest level. People who played at a World Cup, people who played for Banyana, big clubs, they're sitting at home and they don't even have. They've got nothing. It's because of maybe. Being naive, lack of information, they didn't really see the value in trying to educate themselves. I mean, they always say, we all have to do 2 hours in a day. You have to find a way. Somehow you have to find a way.
100%.
And I'm happy that she continues to do what she does. And also we must talk about, it's not only her. If you look at most of the women footballers, especially those who came through Banyana, most of them have got top qualifications, and that is something that must be translated to men. Most of our guys don't take school serious, and when the football stops, they run into serious troubles. And I'm quite happy that she's where she is now. And maybe when I have a broken knee, I'll go to a radiography practice for her to help me, you know.
And your knees are not working anymore. Kholosa, I mean, I want to take you back. There's a time I remember where your ankle was injured and your knee was injured, and you decided to, you know, treat yourself as well. Talk to us about that period in your life where, you know, now you have to look at yourself and say, okay, listen, most of the time, most doctors, they'll want to go treat themselves, but because you've got the knowledge and you know what could possibly help you and you understand your body, talk to us about that period in your life.
As for any player, it's very hard to deal with injuries. And I think for me, that's where now sports science, biokinetics comes in. That's where you learn about how to take care of your body as an athlete, rehab, and just taking your rehab serious and making sure that you finish the whole period of your rehab. I think for me, it was a sad time, but at the same time, I'm glad I have the knowledge and it assisted me. And also the people around me, doctors, physios, they did help me a lot. And post injuries, I have to do my own prehab, obviously, which is great. And I think for all the players, they have to make sure that they invest in themselves. Doesn't matter, you don't have to go to university, but it's important to invest in yourself because injuries happen to anyone.
They
And
happened
it's
to
always
me
sad. It's sad.
at the gym, and I was heartbroken, Kholosa.
I thought she was going to say on the field. I was going to say, it's not big sure.
It's at the gym.
Because I just want to find out something. When we're talking about injuries, I mean, obviously they are part of the game, and you know they happen. And when they happen, it's a pity. They say most of recovery is here. How much of a mental issue is recovery and you know, support and what? How do you keep yourself motivated, especially for recovering from a long-term injury?
I think the most important thing is the people around you. Like if they support you, it includes your parents, it includes your coaches, it includes your teammates. Because one thing that happens the most is that you are normally isolated from the team. You are just there with your physio or bio. And then it's sad to watch other people enjoying themselves outside. So it does affect players mentally. And I remember Mo Salah said, it's easy to go to the gym. He can do 3 workouts a day. But here, it's difficult to train the mind. So I think mental health, especially with athletes, I think it's a difficult thing to deal with, and I think we are ignoring that side in South Africa because, like, for example, what just happened now, not just injuries. Now you have players that are dealing with the situation of someone who just passed on. Like, how do you help those players outside of just being injured? You know, so I think that is the next point we have to focus on. As athletes, as coaches, and not only athletes, even coaches, they go through a lot. It's difficult for them. But it's a serious issue that we need to deal with.
So Kholosa, to pick it up then with that, I mean, you played in Spain, right? And I remember listening to a player that plays for Chelsea, and she was making a comparison in terms of the men's team and the women's team, saying that the men's team will have about 46 doctors and the ladies' team will have half of those number of that in terms of doctors. I want to find out from you as to while you're in Spain and now you're in South Africa, in terms of then that level of professionalism, you know, in terms of the number of doctors that you had in Spain and, of course, also now here in South Africa.
In Spain, we used doctors that the men's team used. So at times they'd be occupied, so we have to wait for them. But we had our own physios, we had our own trainers. But at times in the gym, when you are injured, you'd be in the gym alone. They'll definitely make a program for you, but at times you'd have to do your own program alone. It's the same, like women's sport is not the same as men's sport. We are still trying to get there, but it's difficult to be a female athlete as a whole. Outside of playing, there's a lot of things that you have to deal with.
Sure.
Yeah, so we still face those issues. In Spain, I did. Even in South Africa, most teams do. Most teams, female teams, don't have a physio, don't have a doctor, they have to go outside to get treatment. So it's a sad story.
Now, that brings me to Sundowns. I mean, obviously, you know, we watched the Sundowns women's team from a distance, and it looks like a very, very good operation they're running there. I mean, recently just appointed the lady who's going to oversee the whole program. We made a joke that some of the other guys don't even know what's happening with women's football. Some of the teams, the so-called big teams in the country, they don't know heads or tail of whether they have a team or don't have a team or what's happening. Just the Sundowns setup of that women's football there, it looks like it's a well-run thing, and you guys are pretty much professional, isn't it?
No, definitely. We are fully professional at Sundowns, and they take good care of us. We also have our own medical team. They have a bio in also now, appointed one, massage therapist, physios. We have doctors that we see also. So we are well taken care of at Sundowns, and you don't have excuses. That's why they demand results, because they give you everything, which is beautiful for women's team. And I hope the teams, especially PSL teams, can also go into that and start getting women's teams.
And it must be said, you know, when you like the whole Woodsbeds League, when you look at other teams, because really it's a struggle for most of the teams out there, isn't it?
No, definitely it is. Imagine a team, other teams but Sundowns, they still have to perform at the highest level. They still have to produce national team players that must perform at a national, worldwide standard. So it's sad, but at least we've taken the steps of improving women's football in South Africa, but there's still a lot to be done, especially in terms of resources. But at the same time, like team owners can't do it alone. The corporate should come in and assist us.
I mean, I like the fact that you touch on resources, because I think also a big talking point will always be endorsements and sponsorship, Kholosa, and not only just in the women's game, in the men's game, where you see also footballers looking for sponsorship, looking for endorsement. Talk to us about, you know, some of the importance perhaps of having endorsements, and also your relationship and how you got endorsed, because also, you know, some are wondering as to how about do I get endorsed? What are these brands looking for?
I'll tell you one story that I've shared about sponsorship and endorsements. I once wrote to a brand, didn't have a manager or an agent, tried to get them to sponsor me. So they were looking for young kids. I told them I'm from the Eastern Cape, difficult growing up there. I only played Banyana at 23, 24 years. If you want to endorse me at 18, it's impossible. I never played for under 17s, 20s. I went straight to Banyana. So it's sad, at times they have things that they look for, which is young players, especially for women. For us, it's difficult, and it should be a different story. We can't be compared to male in that matter. But it's important, it's nice to be endorsed. It's important for players to try and get sponsorships. And as a player, how you take care of yourself, how you behave in public, what you believe in as a player. It's important, and you can actually make a living out of the sponsorships and endorsements. So it's important for us to go out there and look for them, and also for them not to push us out, because you write, you don't get anything. 5 years later, now you're 30, that's the only time you're getting a sponsor. So yeah, it's important for all female players to go out there.
How long did you write your letter?
I went about 3 years pushing.
Sure.
But in that 3 years, in the first year I didn't get anything. Second year, they made sure that they gave me like boots to play. They looked after me in terms of that. And after that, it was beautiful.
Cruising nicely.
Everything is history now. Yeah.
Okay, we know the brand.
Do you know the brand? What brand is that?
We know them.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. Or at least that brand is sponsoring Mahlatse Mphahlele. But Kholosa, you mentioned the boot, right? And I think Mahlatse, I don't know if at the Vision View Cup for you this was a big talking point, but at Marks Park, I find it quite interesting, where a lot of these youngsters were talking about boots, trying on new boots, and literally you move on from a copper to a predator. I'm not too sure what you guys call them in your brand, but I do know them on the other side, you know, as to for the defenders, you know, for the middle field, and of course these strikers. And I found that quite interesting. How do you select your boot, or how did you select your boot, Kholosa?
More than anything, it's about comfortability, how it suits, like it fits, on my foot, and because we all have different shapes and flat. So for me, how comfortable the boot is and how light it is. So that's how I ended up selecting my boot.
There's also a little bit of a nickname that you're known of, besides the Fox, where but yeah, Katlelana.
Not anymore.
You don't kick anymore. It's not your thing anymore.
Not anymore.
You stopped.
I did.
Okay, but I wanted to find out if, you know, then you go softer on the boot if you want to have a bit more impact.
No, the boot that I have, that one is for hard. If you want to go hard on people, you must take the boot that I wear. So very comfortable, but when you go in, you go in.
You go in, yeah? Did you hear that?
Because I want to check something here with you. Obviously, I mean, over the years, football has evolved. It's become a little bit more complicated now. It's becoming more technical. Coaches are becoming complicated. It's got now. There are too many terms now we talk about the rest defenses and all these kinds of things. And how have you welcomed these new developments in football? And have they helped you to sort of become a better player?
No, definitely. I think one thing that has made me a better player is the fact that I went on to do my technical analysis courses. I think they've helped me a lot. They've improved the player that I am, the way I see things, how I read the game, my understanding, how I interact with coaches and decision making. So that has helped me. And going into the development of football, that's why it's interesting to see now. And it's beautiful to see that football is getting better. I was watching Chelsea, I think it was Chelsea, Arsenal, Aston Villa. It was a quick game, beautiful. And I just compared it to the past World Cup, and I was watching that game last week. It is so quick, fast. I was like, the difference is big from last year's World Cup and now. So football has evolved, and it's important for us players to also evolve and get better as individuals first and as a team also.
And you think that, I mean, if you zoom into our women's football, where is it, and how far are we still? Because like we're saying, I mean, I also watch WSL. I was watching the FA Cup the other day, Arsenal and somebody. It's a good football match. You keep on wanting more. And one thing that sort of struck me was that we don't have a South African player playing at that level. What I want to get to is that how far are we, and how far we've come, and how far are we to sort of measure up with that kind of that level.
I think if you look at us at the World Cup, we outperformed players that play at the highest level. Italy, for example, we played very well against them. Sweden, we gave them a hard time. And I think as a national team, we're not too far. Every time we are trying to get better. But individually as players, I think we still have to work hard. And we can't only depend on our coaches, because we have different coaches at our clubs, different physios, different trainers. So it's important to take it up to yourself as an individual player, to focus on yourself and try to get programs that are going to get you better as a player. And if we can get better as individuals, obviously we're going to improve the standard of football in Africa, and going out worldwide, we're going to be a better team.
Kholosa, what do you attribute the changes and the growth for Banyana? Because, for the longest time, your Nigerians were the queens of the AFCON, but now it's Banyana. What do you allude that to? Because, I mean, now here we are, Olympic qualifiers, we're playing Nigeria, and we actually believe that we have a shot into beating Nigeria.
The mentality for players at Banyana is different. As individuals, we want to win. As individuals, we work hard outside of Banyana. We put in the extra work. We know where we want to be. We set our level, and we don't want to drop. We just want to get better as a team and as individuals. Yes, Nigeria has been top, but we are there now. And I think we've been doing so well. And I don't want to talk about what has happened in the past between Banyana and Nigeria, because whenever we play Nigeria, it's always a different game. And this time it's Olympics, and we didn't go to the past Olympics. We failed against Botswana. So now we are in the last stage of the qualifiers, and it's important for us